I'm Larry Vickers, the host of TAC TV. I'm a trained firearms professional with years of experience in the industry. So unless you're properly trained, never attempt anything you see on this show, ever. This episode is all about the HK M27 Infantry automatic rifle as adopted recently by the United States Marine Corps. We have here as a special guest, a friend of mine, Robbie Reedsma, who has been in charge of the program for HK and been interfacing with the Marine Corps and is himself a retired Marine Scout sniper. He's here. We're going to have a great time lighting this gun up. Stand by. The 416 and M27 are essentially identical. You have a little bit different configuration in barrel length per se. The most popular 416 variant out there, hands down, is the 10.4 inch model. That's the most popular in special operations, and that's where the biggest advantage comes in and where it was really developed for CCV operations. Now you fast forward to the M27, it's more in a carbine format with a 16 inch barrel, but other than that, it's identical gun. It has a bayonet lug on it.
It works off the short stroke gas piston operation. So you have a gas block, a piston, and then a pusher rod up underneath the handguard here, the free floating rail system. That's allowing less heat transfer, less carbon buildup back to your operating group and the bulk carrier. It's keeping that cleaner and cooler. The majority of your hot carbon fouling is basically vented right out the front of the system through the barrel or through the exhaust vent.
Because of the gas piston operation, it allows the gun to maintain cooler operating temperatures, and that gives you a more sustained fire capability over, say, a direct impingement gun. That's enough of a difference where that gun can come to the table and get the job done in an infantry automatic rifle format.
The M27 infantry automatic rifle started with the Marine Corps in about 2001 time frame, and then it basically went out to industry at around 2007 time frame when it became competitive. The Heckler & Koch M27 infantry automatic rifle that you see here is basically what the Marine Corps is going with. It gives them an improved capability with a lighter weight, more accuracy, and it's still maintaining a high sustained rate of fire for the automatic rifleman. The M27 designation is for 2nd Battalion 7th Marines, which in recent time frame did the field testing for the proof of concept for the M27 or the infantry automatic rifle.
I've fired, obviously, countless rounds through 416s. This is my first time firing an M27. I actually tried to get Robbie on the show about a year ago, if possible, but the project was still kind of being developed, and it wasn't really a sure thing that HK was going to get the contract, so he wanted to hold off and let the dust settle before he came on the show. This year, obviously, the way things have shooken out, it has now been officially adopted by the Marine Corps. I love the gun, great gun, a big HK 416 fan, as you can imagine, because of my personal involvement. I find it interesting where we have these niche roles where, like the M27 or an SPR per se, not necessarily a full-blown belt-fed or automatic rifle per se, or a gun that's a full-blown sniper rifle, but you can actually blend it and morph it into those roles and you get a very effective job done. It gives you commonality with magazines and ammunition with the other guys in your squad. Guys are carrying more weight now than they ever have before, so anything we can do to make sure they're carrying the same ammo, same magazines, and kind of cross commonality, that's a good thing for the guy on the ground. All right, TAC TV fans, we're back out here in North Carolina. My good buddy Robbie Reedsma is here to help us from HK. We have the M249 SAW, M16A4, and the M27 HK IAR. And we're going to do a little burst comparison first up. We have a target downrange, one of our flipping target cardboard targets up, and that's going to be our aiming point. I'm going to do a burst. We'll use the 3-shot burst out of the M16A4 as the baseline. We're going to do 3 bursts per gun. I'm going to try to do 3-shot bursts for all of them. Between Robbie and I, we're going to spot and shoot. Then we're going to go down, measure, and compare and film it for you so we can see the burst radius at 50 yards on this cardboard target. Now, you might ask, why aren't we doing it farther? Well, it's real simple. We only have cardboard that's so big, we want to be able to trace all the shots, so we're doing it at 50. And we're going to see between the 3 guns which one has the tightest dispersion downrange. Robbie, you ready?
Yep, ready.
Let's do it, bro. All three weapons are capable of fully automatic fire. The M16A4 has 3-shot burst, and the SAW has full auto only, and the M27 brings semi-automatic and fully automatic only to the market. It doesn't have the 3-shot burst like the M16A4. What we're looking to do here is essentially look at the dispersion downrange and see what kind of a spread we're going to get in the full auto mode. Be interesting to see how it goes. I think the M27 is going to fare pretty well. It has closed bolt operation over the M249 SAW. Both the guns fire off a bipod, which should be an advantage over the M16A4. Okay, going hot.
Okay, on target.
All right, Robbie, let me clear it out. We'll head down and check it. All right, bro.
Yeah, basically the first one you shot was just right below the bowl.
Yeah, because I was aiming center.
And then the next two were center, and then there was one left, one right, up by shoulder, and then I lost track after that. So first shot was right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the burst, it was one in here, one there, and one up here. And then the next one was 2 down here, and 1 up there. So it's, I mean, all said and done, it's not too shabby.
Yeah, and I could track it through the ACOG. With the reticle one, I could just watch it. And I was monopoding on the magazine, pulling it back, but nevertheless, I still tracked it. Why don't you make sure you pick this one up?
Oh, yeah, I didn't.
Because that's the width of the burst. Okay, too far the shots. 15.5 inches?
15.5.
Okay. We'll have to write that down, and then we'll paste it up, put up a new target, and then we'll roll to the SAW next.
Okay.
Which will be a little bit of a challenge. It's open bolt, and it doesn't have a burst mechanism, so I'm going to have to make sure I stay on the trigger and try to get 3-shot bursts. All right, bro. We'll set it up. All right, Robbie, going hot with the SAW.
On scope here.
Okay. Is that 4?
That was 4.
Okay. 3. 3. All right, let me clear her out. All right, we got 10. I really wanted to shoot 9, 3 3-round bursts, but one got away from me. Remember, this is not a burst fire gun; it's full auto only, so I had to, count the burst on the as I let them go. All right, so we have 10 on here. We've accounted for all 10. If you measure all 10, it's 17 inches. Okay, and that counts because they were all shot. If you count that was a flyer, then it's a lot less. It's actually 11. But actually, it's pretty good. And I tracked it through the ACOG, and it tracked pretty good. The bipod was a factor there. Remember, on the A4, I had to monopod it. I had it on the magazine, and I was pulling it back via the vertical foregrip, and I was pulling it back straight my shoulder, but I still was in monopod. The point of contact for the gun was much farther from the muzzle than it was for the SAW. So that's part of what we're seeing here. So the SAW, let's go ahead and throw that in there. Would be 17, right?
Yeah, 17.
Yep, 17 for the SAW. And we will put up a new target and then paste them up. All right, Robbie, going hot with the M27.
Okay, I'm up on scope.
I'm gonna do my best for the 3-shot burst.
Okay.
Here we go.
The accuracy with the M27 Iar, it has to be at least 5 minutes of angle or better, and that's with a 5-round group and using M855 green tip ammunition. Typically, the guns so far, on average, have done about 2.5 minutes of angle or better. So it's phenomenally accurate. It's about twice as accurate as the M16A4 is over the service life of the gun.
Whoa.
It goes 4.
4?
Yep.
Shoots a little faster.
Yep. 3.
3.
3.
Okay. So I basically did the same thing I did with the SAW. 4, a 3, and a 3.
Yep, correct.
Okay, this is the group for the M27. We got all 10, and like I was telling Robbie, when I was tracking, I could watch the reticle for the Trigicon work to the right. first burst caught me off guard because it has a little bit higher cyclic rate of fire, so it was 4, 3, and 3, just like with the saw. And then we have a pretty good group here. We're going to measure it. We have all 10 shots, so 9.5 inches. The two farthest shots. That's even less than saw, even if you'd have taken that flyer out. It opened it up to 17. It's pretty good. You know, I think that's where a little bit higher cyclic rate helps, honestly.
Yeah, it keeps them, well, with the recoil of the gun, with the piston gun, it's more of a straight back. There's a little bit more weight to the M27, which helps maintain itself in the full auto fire. And yeah, with the piston gun, it's a little faster.
I think
and
it's a little bit higher cyclic rate.
Keeps them right in there.
We know cyclic rate is always a trade-off. If you go a little bit, if you go too fast, it's going to bite you, like on like an MG42 or whatnot. And if you're too slow, it can kind of bite you. You got to find that middle ground. Honestly, I think a little bit higher cyclic rate in this case helps.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. That dramatically better. That's very cool. On to the next test. The results were kind of interesting. The monopod effect of shooting the M16A4 off the magazine kind of hurt it, but that's to be expected. You don't normally have a bipod on that weapon, so the fact that your pivot point is much closer to the fire definitely had more dispersion involved. The open bolt operation of the saw really didn't hurt it much. And once again, we fire it off a bipod, so it did pretty well. The X factor was the fact that the M27 had a little bit higher cyclic rate of fire. So in the time it took, let's say, a saw to fire 3 rounds, you were essentially firing 4 rounds in the M27. That allowed for more shots on target in a tighter group. That was kind of what surprised me the most of the whole dispersion test. Hey, if you're the kind of guy that would rather be out shooting one of these than playing a round of golf, you're at the right place. Stay tuned for more TAC TV.
So why Daniel Defense? I'll take it.
Okay, it's time for the next test with the M27. Robbie Reedsma is going to spot me once again using the M16A4, M249 saw, and the M27. This is a combination of burst and accuracy. I'm going to put a burst with each weapon on the 100-meter steel target. I have a full-size MGM steel target at 100, and then I'm going to take a precise single shot at the 300-meter target. Do it from the prone. He's going to spot me. We're going to run through all 3 guns, then we'll roll down and check the hits. You ready, Robbie?
Ready?
Let's do it, bro. The next test we're setting up evaluates the weapons to do a burst in one situation and then switch very quickly to, say, a more accurate shot at distance. So we have a shot where we're shooting at a piece of steel fairly up close on burst mode, and then we take a shot at distance, say 300 meters, for a more accurate single shot. The M16A4 ought to do pretty well on this, I would assume, other than the fact that, once again, we don't have a bipod for the burst mode. The thing that's going to hurt the saw, it fires from an open bolt, and it's fully automatic only. And despite the fact it's on a bipod, the M27 kind of bridges that gap. You have the bipod capability, you have fully automatic capability, and it has closed bolt capability for that precise shot at distance. My guess is it's going to walk the dog. All right, Robbie, A4's up first. Now I'm going to favor low on the steel. Based on what we saw on the paper here at 50, I know I'm going to have a high right dispersion, so I'm going to hold low on the steel and try to get all 3 shots on it.
Okay, sounds good. I'm on scope.
All right, going hot.
Hit.
All right, now I'm going to try the single shot at 3.
On target. Hit. Hit 6 o'clock.
Okay, right at 6. I was holding right about the base of the neck.
Okay.
So how low was it?
Bottom, right at the bottom of the target on the left-hand side.
Okay, good deal. Now what about the 100? How many shots did I get on it?
On the 100, honestly, it's hard to tell. I know there's at least one impact on there just below center.
Okay. All right. Now we'll try the saw. Actually, no surprise on how the M16A4 did. We expected it to get good hits on distance. Unfortunately, in the 3-shot burst mode and because of the monopod, we were not able to get more than 1 shot at the close target in a burst. All right, Robbie's saw is up now.
Okay.
And I'm ready for the 100-meter steel.
Okay, I'm at the 100-meter, looking on it, ready to go.
All right, here we go.
You got at least 2 hits on there.
Okay. I'm going to do my best to get a single shot off at the 300 if I can. All right, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. It's low.
Hit low?
Yep.
Okay. I got 2 off, but it hit low. All
yep.
right.
They were, yeah, you're going to have to come up probably about 6 feet.
Okay. And then that was using that 300-meter tip.
Okay.
So, and we know this thing's hitting low, so I'll try the 600-meter tip.
Okay. Hit. Basically just below center, right below the circle.
So once we adjusted the hold for saw, it was on. The saw kind of surprised me in respect that I was able to get the first shot at distance on the steel, which was pretty impressive. All right, Robbie, I've got the M27 on the 100-meter steel for the burst.
Okay, I'm ready to observe.
All right, here we go.
Hit, center.
Oh yeah, dude. That's where that cyclic rate of fire kicks in. How many hits did I get?
I can only see one when the plate kicked open. So where the other 2 went, I honestly don't know. It could have went right through the trap door.
It could be. In all honesty, the reticle stayed on the target the whole time. All right, now let me try it 3.
On target.
1 on.
Hit.
You hit it?
Yep, that was a hit.
Excellent. Dude, I'm pretty impressed.
That last one you got was basically just below center, just below that circle trap door.
And then the M27, as predicted, did the best. We had the burst fire capability on the close target, and we had the precise shot capability at the distance. And one thing that helped for sure on all the guns was the ability for that Trijicon to range and apply some holdover that Robbie Reedsman helped me with to make an accurate shot. So that scope kind of paid off in those scenarios. Well, I can see why the Marine Corps picked this gun, because really it has an excellent balance between burst controllability, like on the 100-meter piece of steel. Like I said, the reticle from the Trijicon never even left the target, and then I can roll right over, flip it to semi-automatic, close bolt operation, use the exact same reticle and take a precise shot at distance. It's a pretty cool gun, pretty cool package, and I can see why, once again, the Devil Dogs are digging it. Let's roll down range and check the hits. Okay, this is the MGM steel we're shooting at 100. Now you see it's actually smaller than man size. Kind of a tough target to hit. And also when we shot it with the M16A4, you've got that monopod effect on the magazine. So the gun kind of wants to rock during recoil, so that's where some of the shots get scattered off. So we had good first round hits on all the guns, but in the burst mode, the M27, did better, higher cyclic rate, and we also fired it off the bipod. And we're pretty confident at least one of the shots after the M27 hit it went through. That's kind of a byproduct of the higher cyclic rate of fire and the fact it was fired off a bipod. Remember, bipod makes a big difference. Also, the closer you get it to the muzzle makes a big difference. So that's why you saw better accuracy in burst mode with guns like the SAW and the M27 over the M16A4. Now we're going to roll out to 300 and check the precise hits on that steel. All right, Robbie, if you would, take me through the hits here.
Yep, we got the M16A4 down low right here, and then the M249 SAW right here, and the M27 right here.
Okay. Now, for the show, we had to swap the optic, which I'm sure you probably caught at home, between the M27 and the M249. So I actually had to hold up here for the Trijicon on the M249. Mm-hmm. That was the first shot of a 2-shot burst. So obviously the second shot's gone. And then when we were on target with the M27, obviously if we shot more, we'd want to adjust it and get a little bit to the right. But all 3 got hits, which is good.
Yep, absolutely.
Now with the M249, you know, it's almost impossible to get a single shot, especially under conditions of stress like in combat. I was able to get 2 shots off, but generally it's going to be 3 or 4 or 5, so those other shots are going to be gone unaccounted for. That's where having a semi-automatic option in either the A4 or the M27 is a big plus. Good deal. On to the next test. All right, TAC TV viewers, it's time to highlight the newest member of the HK semi-automatic rifle family, the MR762A1. Now, in the same fashion that the MR556A1 is the semi-automatic counterpart to the 416, this rifle is the semi-automatic counterpart to the HK417. Essentially the same layout. And one of the things HK did in the gun, instead of borrowing a lot of the AR style features that we see in the United States with 308 guns, they developed a lot of things on their own. So there's not a lot that's reverse compatible with 7.62 ARs that we have here. Proprietary magazine based on the HK G36 magazine. It's essentially a 20 round mag and it has the same greenish tint you can see through to see the rounds in the mag. Has a free float system, but unlike the one on the 416 or the 5.56, it has 2 lugs that lock it into the trunnion. Heavy non-chrome line barrel, similar style gas system to the one on the 5.56, and the buffer tube's larger and has a different buttstock and buffer assembly. Essentially the same layout, but very much so the bigger brother to the 416 MR 5.56.
Hunting takes total awareness. It's you versus your quarry. Don't hunt with one eye closed or it can come back to bite you. You can't think about the shot. It just needs to happen. No matter where you go, no matter what you hunt, you need confidence because the moment of truth lasts just seconds. When it all comes down to making your shot, and failure is not an option.
I trust Aimpoint.
Aimpoint hunting sites give you the edge.
Okay, one of the distinct advantages a magazine-fed weapon like the M27 has is the ability to reload it quickly, much more so than a weapon like the M249 saw. Now to highlight this, me and Robbie Reedsma did a little side-by-side comparison for you to check out. Next up is the reload test. And to be honest with you, we kind of already know how this is going to shake out. A belt-fed gun is dramatically slower to reload than a magazine-fed weapon. The trade-off, of course, is you have more ammunition. I mean, you have 200-round belt inside that box underneath the M249 saw. But we just want to demonstrate the difference between what it takes to reload the saw and what it takes to reload a weapon like the M27. Okay, Robbie, recap here. How many mag changes did you get through?
We've got through 3 and I was on the 4th.
Okay. My reload on the saw went pretty well. As you know, those links that lay on the feed tray, those can be a bugger. I had to get those out of the way. Other than that, it went pretty smooth. So in the time it took for you to do 3 and getting on to a 4th, now granted you're doing 3-shot bursts.
Right.
We did that on purpose. That was the time it took for me to get a new drum or 200-round belt into the saw. Keeping in mind, ideal conditions, bright daylight, not at night. Obviously, a magazine-fed gun like that is going to be far easier to reload than a belt-fed like the saw. Saw that movie coming. Well, there's no surprise on the results between reloading an M249 saw and an M27. That's what you're going to get when you have a belt-fed weapon versus a magazine-fed weapon. Key difference is sustained fire capability. So you have to weigh out what's most important to you at that given time in that given situation. One of the most common questions when it comes to the HK416 or the MR556 is why is the magazine well shaped the way it is? It's different than a standard, say, American-made M4 style carbine. And one of the primary reasons is reverse compatibility with HK's blank fire magazine. This magazine was developed in conjunction with the British SA-80 program, and because of the magazine well shape, it was designed around that platform. There's a filler up front that prevents live rounds from being down inside the magazine. You can still get 3 live rounds on top if you had ill intentions, but only blanks can actually go down in the magazine. If you use it in conjunction with HK's blank adapter, which has the ability to capture those 3 live rounds, it virtually eliminates the possibility of somebody being killed by live rounds in a blank fire training exercise. That's the reason why the 416 MR556 has the magwell shape that it does. All right, TAC TV fans, I figured it was high time to clue you in on some of the stuff that Bravo Company brings to the table for you and the show. I was talking to Paul, the owner of Bravo Company, at SHOT Show this year, and I wanted to highlight some of the stuff he carries on his website, BravoCompanyUSA.com. First up is this charging handle. It's the BCM Gunfighter charging handle, and it has several different variations with extended latches, and even the signature gun I had with Daniel Defense, I specified the BCM Gunfighter Mod 5 on it, which is my personal favorite. One of the key design features on the BCM Gunfighter charging handle, not only is it made out of the finest materials out there, but the latch itself bottoms out on the T-handle. You don't have to worry about that pin on a normal charging handle latch taking the stress and potentially failing on you at the worst possible time. That's a rare occurrence. We know how Murphy's Law works. Paul has updated models coming out, one that has a skirt that drops down that kind of acts almost as a shield in case you're shooting suppressed, and also what he calls the leather neck collar, which also acts as a shield for suppressor use. Overall, really good, slick piece of kit. Been very well received in the tactical market. If you have not checked it out, go over to his website and order one up, bro. You'll dig it. One hot. Okay, one of the key things the M27 brings to the table over the M249 saw is maneuverability. To take you through some of the details, Robbie Reedsma has a drill he's going to run you through. Robbie, take it away.
Thank you, Larry. We're basically just going to do some shooting and moving to walk you through the M27 and show you how it's a lot more maneuverable.
One of the advantages that the M27 brings to the table over, say, something like an M249 saw is essentially it's a lighter weapon and it's easier for a soldier to maneuver with that. Bottom line, even a belt-fed weapon like the saw, and granted it's in 5.56, so it's much lighter than it would be in 7.62, it still can be a very cumbersome weapon, let's say in an urban environment when you're doing dynamic movement. So if you have a weapon like the M27 that can kind of fill the gap for an automatic fire mode, there's a niche for it, whereas a saw is actually too big or a little bit too heavy and too bulky to maneuver in those environments.
When you compare the weight of the M27 infantry automatic rifle to the M249 squad automatic weapon, the M27 is half the weight. When you compare it to an M16A4 or M16A2 service rifle, it's right around the same weight.
Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the M27. Obviously, I have a soft spot in my heart for the 416 based on my involvement with it, so I'm very proud for the Marines to have adopted this weapon as the infantry automatic rifle. But above and beyond that, it kind of fills an important niche. I can see why a Marine in an urban environment or in a dynamic situation where weight is a major factor would much rather have a gun like this, knowing that he's going to give up some sustained fire capability over, say, something like an M249 saw. He has a weapon that's lighter and easier to maneuver, and at times that can make all the difference in the world. Well, the 416 and the M27 kind of represent why there is a need or a niche for a piston-style weapon. A direct impingement carbine like the M4 or the M16 has done very well in service use, provided it's maintained and taken care of well. Where a piston gun comes in is those shorter formats like the 10.4 inch 416, or in the case of the infantry automatic rifle, the piston operation allows the operating group to stay cooler and allows you to maintain a higher rate of fire and keeping the gun at relatively cooler temperatures. Those are two niches where a piston-operated AR makes a lot of sense, and the 416 is definitely the yardstick that everybody has to measure to when it comes to a piston-operated AR.
The commercial variant of the M27 Infantry automatic rifle, or the HK416, is going to be the MR556, and it's going to look a lot like a Bear M27. It's got the same 16.5-inch barrel length. It's just going to have a 2-inch shorter handguard to it.
Well, the M27 Infantry automatic rifle has certainly been one of the most talked about small arms choices in recent memory, much like the HK416 itself. The way I look at it, it's not necessarily replacing the M249 saw, it's augmenting the M249 saw and gives the soldier, or the Marine in this case, an easier weapon to maneuver. I hope it does well. I'm proud to be a part of it, and we'll see you next time back here on TAC TV.